Hello, everyone, and welcome to another CPC Strategy and Skubana webinar. We're going to be talking about Amazon's enhanced branded content. Today, we're going to be going over tips and tricks to maximize conversions, a success story, and best practices. But kind of before we get started, we have about 4 minutes before the top of the hour. We always like to do this. I'm sure there's definitely a good amount of you that have been into our webinars before, but always interesting to find out where people are airing from. So if you kind of shoot over in the chat box to the right, where you guys are airing from, always cool to see. Let's get going here. It looks like people are airing in from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Nice, fantastic to see. Russell from Columbia. Welcome, Russell. Jesse from Atlanta. Tom from Detroit. Nice. Okay, if you guys didn't know too, if you haven't been to a CPC Strategy webinar before as well, Nick Cotter here, Marketing Operations Coordinator at CPC. I air from the greater Boston area. Pat and Chad, where are you guys airing from today?
Yeah, I'm in sunny San Diego at the moment. Chad, sorry, I didn't mean to step on your toes there. Where are you at?
All good, all good. I'm in New Jersey.
Nice, nice. See if anyone else from New Jersey, San Diego area. We got people from New York. Let's see, Green Bay. Chad, another Chad here from Portland, Oregon. Nice.
Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there on Wednesday.
Oh, nice. Traveling all over the place.
Yeah, I'm going to Portland for my birthday with my wife.
Oh, fantastic. That'd be a good trip, huh?
Oh yeah,
You ever been
5
there
days.
before?
I have been there, but my wife hasn't. So we're going together, and we're just gonna have some good food, good hikes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's an amazing area. I drove from Seattle down to San Diego and stopped and spent a little bit of time in Portland. It was an incredible city.
I'm excited.
Cool. Let's see who else we have here. Let's see, Lou from South Pasadena, Jeff from Boston. Ah, nice, Jeff. Welcome. Let's see, Albert says happy birthday to you there, Chad. Franklin from London, England. Welcome, Franklin. Josh from Minneapolis. Welcome, Josh. Cool. Like again, oh, got the person here from Netherlands. Welcome, Woder. Sorry, mispronounced that one. Let's see, Nicholas from Huntington Beach, right, 2 hours away from San Diego, so good to see. Cool. Well, it's good to have everyone here. It's really cool to see everyone airing from all over the world, really. Netherlands, the UK, Miami, Turkey, another New Jersey native here as well. Welcome, Ellie. So it's good to have everyone back. Another CPC Strategy and Skubana webinar. It's our second one that we've kind of put on together. There's going to be probably many more. A lot of the attendees, typically like to bring like the content. Chad brings a lot of knowledge, and of course we have our very own Pat Petrella here. Who always drops knowledge. We've done several webinars together over the course of the past couple of years. So, but yeah, before we kind of get things started again, always another thing I like to do is just kind of launch a poll question, get a sense of the audience, give Pat and Chad a sense of kind of who they're speaking to today. So just want to know, are you, straightforward here, are you currently using enhanced brand content? Yes or no? Kind of straight to the point here. See if you're already currently investing in it. And kind of just help, like I said, Chad and Pat to kind of, gauge the conversation today, make sure they're touching on everything that they need to. So I like to try to get this up to at least 70% of the audience. So I'm seeing 50% right now. Those of you that are, having this in the background, let's try to get those votes in before we get things started. We've got 1 more minute before top of the hour. So let's see. Yeah. So we just want to know, you actually using it. Pat, how long has actually EBC been available to sellers?
Yeah, EBC launched in November of 2016. So what? That's been 6 or 7 months now.
Oh, okay, nice. So it's still fairly new. So
yeah,
a lot more enhancements too that Amazon's rolling out with it too, or has been over the past month. So it's good to see. So we're just past 70%. So let's see if I can share these results with you guys. Pat, can you guys see these?
Yeah, wow. I'm surprised.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it looks like, 60 not using it yet, 38 yes. So, it's kind of good to know moving forward here.
All right, Chad, let's see if we can change that by the end of this webinar.
I hope so. I think there's, it's really important to be first on Amazon. So if you have first mover advantage and you're doing things that others aren't willing to do, and doing enhanced brand content goes a really, really long way, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Nice, fantastic. So let's kind of jump into the next couple slides here, get over a little, the housekeeping stuff that we usually always go over with our webinars. Let's see, there we go. So, just kind of the title slide here. Today we're going to talk about maximizing traffic, conversions, and sales, leveraging Amazon's enhanced branded content. Again, co-hosted with CPC Strategy and Skubana. So Sorry there, Pat. I'm trying to see if we move to the next slide. A little lag, I think. Cool. So just some logistics for today. It is being recorded, and I will be sending this out with the slides. Hopefully I get that out to you tomorrow morning. I usually like to get this out within 24 hours. So if it is within 24 hours, latest is 48 hours, there'll be an email from CPC Strategy. That'll have all the good stuff there. They're recording the slides. And we'll throw this newly launched, actually, enhanced branded content guidebook that we actually just finished up this, I think it was 2 days ago, actually, we just finished it up. So I'll throw that in the email as well. That's also in the handout section. So take that with you, download it. Some good resources for today. You can take notes away from that as well. So again, joining the poll questions. I'd like to get at least 70% of the audience kind of, participating in the poll questions. So it's good to see we got that so far. So it's fantastic. Have any questions for these two over here? Submit them there to me to the left. Nick Cotter, again, Marketing Operations Coordinator at CPC Strategy. I'll be doing all the behind-the-scenes work. Any issues you have with audio, any questions you have, just want to chit-chat with me, I'll be here. Working through all the questions. I'll be submitting those to Pat and Chad throughout the presentation. So yeah, I think like the next slide here is actually going to be Chad and actually it's about CPC Strategy. So if you're not familiar with who we are, we're founded in 2007, recognized as an actual Google Premier partner. We have over 400 active retail clients. One of the top 50 fastest growing companies in San Diego for 4 years now, I want to say. So something really proud of. We're retail focused PPC and shopping, as well as our Amazon Sales Acceleration Program, where we help Amazon sellers and vendors pretty much, how I like to put it, is navigate the marketplace from everything from content optimizations to Amazon PPC. If you're a vendor, we do AMS, advertising, reporting, pretty much everything that's to do with Amazon we help out with. And of course, we also have Facebook performance marketing, where we help retail brands and retailers alike kind of navigate Facebook and help launch their different strategies there, from custom audience and prospecting to Facebook dynamic product ads, etc. And at the bottom, you can see the kind of diverse portfolio that we have there from the different clients that we work with. And so, without further ado, I believe this next slide here should be the speaker slide. So, Pat, you want to give a kind of a background about yourself here, and then kind of hand it over to Chad and kick things off?
Yeah, sure, Nick. Thank you for, excuse me, for setting us up, and for everyone for joining. And thanks always, of course, Chad, for joining as well. Appreciate your time. My name is Pat Petriello. I head up Marketplace Strategy here at CPC. I'm a former Amazonian myself. As I mentioned before, that drive from Seattle was from Amazon. I'm a former professional seller on the marketplace as well, on Amazon, eBay, Amazon.co.uk, Buy.com, which is now Rakuten. So I have approached the marketplace from a number of different angles, and I'm really excited to talk about enhanced brand content and how to drive additional sales alongside of Chad.
Awesome, Pat, and it's always great to be speaking alongside of you. Much respect. Hi guys, my name is Chad Rubin, top 500 Amazon seller, along with selling across 19 other channels on the internet. Have been doing this for the past decade. Started a software called Skubana, which is an operational system to run and automate your entire business after the checkout. So we plug and play, integrate into Jet, Walmart, Amazon, Shopify, eBay, Overstock, Wayfair, you name it. Also wrote a book called Cheaper, Easier, Direct, which, to no surprise, is on Amazon. And my code name on the streets is E-commerce Renegade, as you can see in the slide here. So you can find me if you're interested in some more of my content. You can find me under E-commerce Renegade all over the internet.
Chad, that logo's awesome, by the way. The bandana bear.
Yeah, I really like it. I wanted something that I can wear on a T-shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's get right into the nitty-gritty. I really appreciate everyone for joining us today. And I think we're actually going to start with just the fundamentals of enhanced brand content. If I can get this slide to move. Maybe there's a little delay. Okay.
There we go.
So thanks for joining. Of course, you can spend your time in a lot of other places. This is 1 hour of your time, but we want to make it extremely valuable. So you're in the right place if you want to leverage Amazon's enhanced brand content. I think 60% of the audience said that they don't use it today. So I highly suggest you do, especially after this presentation. We're going to give you some valuable nuggets to throw into your business. Certainly, and Pat can riff on this also. If you want to increase your conversions, which is probably the single most thing that's going to boost your ranking on Amazon, is conversion. Enhanced brand content will only contribute to that. So if you want to increase your conversions, of course, check out enhanced brand content. And then, of course, Pat will go into this as well at the end, which is metrics and what increasing your rank will do and increasing your conversions will do on Amazon for your business, even small little changes, what that impact will have on your business.
Yeah, that's right, Chad. That's exactly what we want to talk about. And really, it's not like Chad or I or Nick or anybody gets commission for people who start using EBC. It doesn't work like that. For us, it's really a presentation of the facts and to arm you with the knowledge that you need to make the best decision for your business. We're also probably not going to be too shy about advocating for the adoption of enhanced brand content, but I think what's important is to leave here not doing that because I say so or because Chad says so, but because the facts that we present kind of make that case for you. So I think Chad, that's the goal, yeah?
For sure.
Cool. So speaking of the goal, and that was an intentional segue, is really to leave you here with a greater understanding of EBC, of enhanced brand content, what it is, how to use it, what will get accepted, what won't get accepted, and what the benefits are. Chad, you maybe want to kick off and just give an overview of what enhanced brand content is. That way we don't make an assumption that everybody already knows what it is when we're dropping acronyms like EBC.
Yeah, so it's if people are familiar with A+ content for Vendor Central, it's essentially the same thing. You're given the ability with templates to add images and make more robust formatting to your text for your long description. So it actually replaces your long description on Amazon. So a lot of sellers, and we'll show examples of this, we're using HTML or using bold or using italics to emphasize various pieces just to enhance their listing. Now you can actually give value props in your listing itself, which gets people to go to the buy box on Amazon. And it's available to every third-party seller if you have brand registry.
Yeah, and Chad, I think you mentioned an interesting point there, and I'm sure there'll be questions around it. You said that this replaces the description on the product detail page. Can you also maybe go into a little bit about, does that original description still get indexed for search? Does the new EBC get indexed for search? We get a lot of questions around that I think we should probably address.
Sure, so let's be upfront about it. The long description that you leave intact in the back end remains there and is really, really important to indexing on Amazon. So anything that's enhanced brand content that you utilize actually is not used in the results for SEO.
Makes perfect sense. So the EBC on page, that's to communicate to the humans who are actually making a purchase decision. That back-end description is still there to appeal to Amazon's A9 search algorithm.
Yep, so one person actually yesterday, late at night, asked me a question. They said, well, why don't I just put in my bullet points, scroll below for more information? Because it's obviously enhanced brand content is more pretty.
Yeah.
But immediately I said, well, you're going to lose a lot of your SEO juice if you do that. Right, because bullet points are used for SEO on Amazon.
That's right. Perfect.
Right.
Cool. So
yeah,
let's see. I'm going to go back here. So this is everybody's favorite example on Amazon, which is Anchor. And this is a GIF that I won't stay on for too long because I know it can be a little distracting. But essentially, if you scroll down the page below the fold, if you've ever heard that term, it kind of goes back to the old newspaper marketing world. You'll see the enhanced brand content that's below the fold there. And this has the images, and it shows a lot of the value propositions of this particular product. Now I'm going to get off that slide because I find it can be very distracting if you have a moving image in front of you for too long. And as Nick asked in the open, this has been around since November of 2016. And Chad and I will talk about this a little bit, but I want to think about this strategically with regards to the big picture. And I use the phrase the evolution of the marketplace quite a bit because in the grand scheme of things, the Amazon marketplace is still fairly immature. It hasn't been around for that long. It's evolving all the time, and with it, the sellers who are successful on it. And so I look at EBC as this opportunity the same way as maybe FBA 5 or 6 years ago, where people weren't sure, should I be using FBA, should I not be using FBA? And now that's really table stakes. You need to be using FBA, have prime offers to even be competitive. Same thing 2.5 years ago with sponsored products. Sellers saying, how do I use this instrument? Do I really need it? Is this a worthwhile investment to drive traffic? And now, if sellers aren't using paid advertising to drive additional visibility to their products on the marketplace, it's really, really difficult for them to succeed. This, to me, is essentially the newest version of that. In 2 years' time, every detail page on Amazon is going to have either an A+ component through Vendor Central, or an EBC component through Seller Central, or be one of Amazon's own private label pages like the Amazon Elements supplements. And so Chad talked about how there's a first mover advantage, and this is the direction that the marketplace is going. It's almost the beautification of Amazon's detail pages. Our choice is not whether or not that's going to happen as a seller community. Our choice is whether or not we want to be part of that and take advantage of it. And that's kind of the way I want to think about this. So you've now had some time to read the bullet points that are on this screen here. Just a little 101 of where to start. If you say, hey, okay, I understand EBC. How do I use it? What are the nuts and bolts that I need to do to implement it? Chad mentioned in the open, it's only for brand registered third-party sellers, and we're gonna almost break a little bit of news here in a couple slides and talk a little bit very briefly about an update to the brand registry program that we just learned about, to be honest with you, in the last 2 or 3 hours before going live here. So we'll talk a little bit about that, so stay tuned. And the way to get to it is you select the enhanced brand content from your advertising drop-down in Seller Central. So if you're looking where to go find it, and Chad's going to walk you through the steps about brand registry. I know we'll get some questions about that, how to even enroll. He's going to walk us through that. There's templates. It's really drag and drop, so there's no excuses of, oh, I don't have a CSS developer, I don't have an HTML developer, I don't have this or that. If you have any level of creative assets, you can at least start to put enhanced brand content on the page. They typically take about a week or so to get rejected or accepted. If you happen to be a hybrid 3P vendor on this, your A+ detail pages normally get accepted within, or accepted or rejected within about 2 or 3 days. There's a little bit longer latency here. Biggest thing for why you should move right now is Amazon currently isn't charging a setup fee for these, but I can almost guarantee that they will in the future. So if you create 100 EBC pages now, it costs you $0. If Amazon charges $50 a page, those same 100 are going to cost you $5,000 going forward. So that's one thing to keep in mind in terms of moving quickly on that.
Yeah, Amazon monetizes everything. So sponsored ads is now, people are saying it's about $1 billion of revenue contributed to Amazon's top line right now.
Yeah, Amazon's perfect conversion is somebody who does a search on Amazon, finds an ad, clicks the ad, then converts on a product that is also in FBA, so they get a piece of the conversion, they get the FBA fees, they get the click from the advertising, and maybe you signed up for Subscribe and Save while you were at it. That's a good point, Chad. And so just to continue along here with the 101 of EBC, some things to consider. Hey, all right, I want to do this. What would I need to include in this content? And some of the assets and the different types of assets are lifestyle images. That's where you're actually showing that your product is being used by a person. So it's not just here's this product sitting on a bench. It's how do people actually interact with your product. You can have branded headers with a logo, a product feature image. That's really important as well if you have a product that has technical components or certain specifications that you want to show off. So if, for example, you have a mobile battery pack and you want to show the specs of the different power cell that's being used in the battery and how that holds more power and how that is resistant to being damaged when you're traveling, all that stuff you can show off. I can tell you in our experience we've had a lot of success with templates number 3 and 4. So if you're just saying, hey, I have no idea where to start on this and I'm not a graphic designer or a creative designer at all, look at templates 3 and 4 as potential places for where to start. With an understanding of what EBC is and how you can start to use it, and like I said, it's just a drag and drop of images to start to improve the quality of your detail page. Chad, maybe you can go a little bit into how somebody can get started and what that process looks like.
Absolutely. So, and just real quick on the last slide you had, which was on Anchor, I always find it fascinating. They're the #1 private labeler on Amazon today. and they put value props on the most commoditized products. So like they'll be selling a USB cord or a hub, and they will make it sound so sexy and so appealing in their enhanced brand content. You're just like, oh my God, I gotta have it. Extreme durability, or whatever their guarantee is that they have on their product. They make it look great, and I think everyone on the call today can do the same exact thing.
Chad, that's a really good. Sorry, Chad, that's a really good point. Just before we go on, I know you and I talk about this offline all the time about getting sellers to start thinking like brands and less like sellers. And what you just called out is a really great example of that. Of Anchor isn't just saying, hey, I've got this cable, you can use it. It's creating a whole branded experience of what the interaction is like with their product, and that's the opportunity that really exists here.
Yeah, I think that Anchor, one of them, who I really respect and admire their brand, they're measuring they don't call themselves a private labeler, even though they're majority on Amazon, but they're measuring their success by the longevity of how long they've been around, the frequency of how quickly they launch products, and how the quality of their brand when people are actually typing in Anchor into the Amazon A9 search. So how do we be like Anchor, right? How do we actually, instead of compete, how do we dominate? Well, first we need to get started. So I'll go through some of the basics, a little housekeeping here. So first, you're going to get your products registered with Amazon Brand Registry. Again, there was just Brand Registry 2.0 that was launched. I believe it was launched today or late last night. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Pat, have you?
You know, I think there's a slide coming up in about 1 or 2 slides where I can kind of show a little screenshot of what we've been seeing. So just bear with us and we'll get to that in a moment.
So you need to be brand registered. You can put in your information here for your product. You register your product. You go to advertising. You go to promotions. So at the top of Seller Central, within Seller Central, advertising, promotions, and then all you need is a SKU for the product to get started. You just have to make sure that you have brand registry to go forward. So you have the ability to actually change and impact the listing since you are the brand holder of the brand on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Pat?
No, that's exactly how to do it. One thing I did want to touch on here, and so I'm going to jump on to the next slide if you don't mind.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You have to forgive the lack of formatting. This was something that happened really just prior to us going live, and we even debated whether or not to include it here, but I thought we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it, is that the new brand registry enrollment is now available, and so I'm calling this, and Chad as well, I heard you were calling it, it's kind of brand registry 2.0. And so there's not a lot of details that we can give here. Obviously, we don't have a ton of experience with it since it just launched either this morning or last night. You can see the screenshot here and the highlighting that shows some of the different components of new brand registry. It calls out, and Nick, did you just? Yeah, you did. Nick just chat out the link to where to go find this. And it looks like it provides some additional protections around branded logo image search and over IP violations. But I do want to be very, very clear. There's going to be a lot of confusion around this. I'm sure questions are rolling in right now. This is not brand gating. This is not a way for you to kick 3P sellers off your detail page. This is not unauthorized, getting rid of unauthorized sellers who sell authentic products. This is not that. I know it can be confusing. People start using brand registry and brand gating as the same things when they're not. The only reason we wanted to include this and call this out is because one of the steps for EBC is to enroll in brand registry, and in the last 24 hours it looks like that changed a little bit. So I'm sure we'll get questions in this that we can address at the end, but a little bit of a news break here to talk about this.
You know, one of my employees just texted me saying that they signed up for brand registry 2.0 for us, and it looks like they've changed it. So now once you're brand registered, you have the ability to submit violations of intellectual property infringements directly on the platform. So that's something that she's writing to me. But I guess we'll all stay tuned. But that's pretty, it looks like it's in your highlighting too, where it says, based on your reports of suspected intellectual property rights violations. So right now we pay like a lawyer a lot of money to submit and go into Amazon and submit these violations of hijackers or people that are counterfeiting or violating our brand. So it looks like this is an evolved process. Like you said earlier on the webinar, that like Amazon is still very nascent. The marketplace is still early it's still the Wild West, and it looks like it's starting to grow up a little bit more with this brand registry 2.0.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we'll have a blog post coming out on this. Usually we have them out by the end of the day, but in the next 24 hours, it has a little bit more information around this. The key for now is I just don't want people to walk away thinking, cool, I don't have to do any more of my own brand protection because this is the magic bullet or the hack. It isn't that. So with that little aside, Chad, I'll let you get back into the process for EBC.
Yep. So like you said earlier, you don't need to have any HTML experience. Amazon gives you these templates, and you have to just choose the template. So we've narrowed it down to template 3 and 4, which are most popular and work best. I have a preference of template 4, which we'll share later on in the presentation. But choose 3 or 4, whatever works best, and just plug and play. Drop in your images, drop in your text, and boom, submit it for review. It's really, really easy. And then you submit it. Like I said, 7 days to review. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it takes a little bit later. Roughly, it's about 7 days, and you can only have 20 submitted at any given time.
Just want to jump in here too real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Getting questions on the arrows from the last slide. People were wondering kind of why we're pointing to those 2 arrows there.
Yeah, let me I can take that in here. Actually, let me go back to that last slide as well. Yeah, so these arrows are pointing at templates 3 and 4. And what these are the template options that Amazon gives you when you go to implement EBC. So it's not just an open white page where you write your own design code. And the templates are basically a different combination of available image and text slots. And so I don't have the pixel dimensions off the top of my head, but template 3 is essentially, it's 2 large image fields with a number of different text fields as well. And then template 4, I want to say is 6 images. There's a header images, and there's also maybe 4 or 6 slots for text as well. And these are the 2 that we have found to be most successful for the EBC pages that we've rolled out. And I know Chad was just saying in his experience that his preference is template 4. And so the reason for the arrows, Nick, is there's a lot of folks who might be seeing this for the first time, or 60% of the attendees are who aren't leveraging this. And instead of leaving them looking at 5 options going, which one's the best, it's to kind of give some guidance around where you might want to start.
Nice. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. I'm actually looking through the guidebook, too. I haven't had a chance to look at the EBC guide yet, but I'm looking through it now, and it looks like a lot of those templates and the requirements are in there, too. So I definitely suggest you guys checking that out as well if you have more questions around that. So.
Cool. And, Nick, you put the guidebook resource in the handouts. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Awesome. And then one more thing to add here on the submission that Chad was talking about. The only issue we have seen is that if your EBC is rejected and you have to make a change for whatever reason, typically that process can take 7 additional days. So if you are trying to roll EBC out by Prime Day or by a certain date in your marketing calendar, I would suggest that you don't submit that for the day before or 2 days before you want it to go live, or before you're running a promotion that drives traffic to that detail page. Make sure you leave yourself time to get your EBC submitted, approved, and even allow for some leeway in case it gets rejected and you need to resubmit it.
That's a great point.
Awesome. So we talked a little bit about what EBC is, how brand registry has changed, what the basics are of implementing it. And now I think it makes sense to go into talk a little bit about the benefits. And Chad really called out the main benefits here. It's around conversion. It's around turning existing traffic into more sales. And the benefit that provides comes in a couple of different forms. And some of those, obviously the first benefit of those additional sales is that you're turning the same amount of traffic into more sales. And so that also increases efficiency of your advertising traffic. If you're driving 1,000 sessions to your detail page through sponsored products, if you can increase the rate at which those clicks, those sessions convert, then you're even making your advertising more efficient. Chad, I know you had some experience with here too about some data to back up that conversion rate and even some social component.
So, well, this image in itself right here is actually one of the brands that I manage. And so it's an electric wine opener. And so what we're doing is we're calling attention out to value propositions. And this was actually like how we started doing enhanced brand content. We've actually evolved since this time of putting this presentation together. But we're always calling out value props, which gets people to the buy box to go buy more. So what we've seen is that we're seeing at least anywhere from 3 to 6 times the conversion rate as just plain text in the product description. Because what people are doing is they're scrolling down after the bullet points and they go past your coupon stack, and then boom, they get hit with the enhanced brand content because they're on their way to check out your reviews. Most people are going to look at the negatives, not the positives. But on their way down there, calling attention to negatives that people are going to discover, or negatives of your competition if they're evaluating other alternatives to your product. Enhanced brand content is a perfect place to make this all happen and to make sure they actually go and commit to that buy box.
Yeah, we're even seeing some newly learned consumer behavior as these become more popular, is that people will hit the detail page and there's now an expectation of, oh, I wonder what the pretty pictures are going to look like down below, especially when everything you read is that the attention span in the United States, I think, has now shrunk to 8 seconds. Now, I don't know how reliable that metric is, but a lot of times people are looking for images first more than text that they have to read. And so to Chad's point, when somebody scrolls down beyond that coupon stack, boom, they're hit with this additional information. And if they don't see that, it's almost, hey, I'm not going to spend any more time on this detail page.
And for the record, cats have an 8-second attention span as well, and that's what Facebook and Instagram are doing to us.
Yeah, it's true. If somebody can Google and maybe want to chat into Nick, what is it for goldfish? I think it's 9 seconds, which would mean that we're now lower than goldfish. Although don't quote me on that, but I think I read that somewhere.
That's funny. And the other thing I just want to point out is like Amazon is actually analyzing your on-page engagement on your page. When people actually come to your page, they're aware of the time that people spend on your page, what's being clicked. And so enhanced brand content gives people that, like I said, that attention span that people need to stay more on your page, right, which Amazon is tracking. Cool?
Very cool.
All right. So yeah, here's an example of one I think that Kyle from Postruck, and so this is actually template number 4. And if you scroll down, right, it'll go through like a little message from the founder, and then it'll say, man, and he sells dog chewables, bully sticks. And at the bottom, you'll see the value props at the bottom. So free-range grass-fed, all natural, cleans teeth. To me, that is so much more impactful than just having bold text in your, or even just in your product description where you're putting capital letters. Right? This is just a different place where you can hold your content and give people access to go now hit the buy box button in the top right-hand corner.
And Chad, also, if there's any opportunity for you to shoehorn a cute dog into your EBC detail page content, it's probably recommended that that's a good thing.
Yeah, it makes you feel nice and warm inside. So even if you're selling wine openers that are electric, maybe you have a lifestyle image or you have a picture of someone that's having fun, like, using your product. So put a lot of time and thought, but it's just, Amazon has made it so easy because Amazon is like a gateway drug, right? They make it easy to start and make it hard to ever leave. Enhanced brand content is kind of that cherry on top that's just sort of perpetuating that same challenge.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, and so I also want to pull this out. This is what Amazon sent to us. And so if you don't believe Chad or I, maybe you'll believe Amazon. And so this is what they have sent out around the benefits of including EBC to a detail page. Now they emailed this to us, but you can also just find this if you search for enhanced brand content within your Seller Central help. And I really want to draw attention to 2 areas here. It's the drive traffic and increase sales on the bottom left. And for as complex and complicated and sophisticated as we like to make Amazon out to be, and it is, success on Amazon really only comes down to 2 things. It's really all it is getting your products found and getting your products bought. Really everything on Amazon, whether it's reviews, images, advertising, videos, customer service, fulfillment, you name it. Everything goes back to, are your products discoverable? And once they're discovered, are they buyable? And with that in mind, we look at what Amazon tells us about EBC. Adding EBC to your detail page can improve your product search rankings and where your product shows up in Amazon's search results. And Chad touched on this a little bit earlier, the impact that EBC has on organic search ranking. And when I'm saying the word ranking, I'm not talking about BSR, bestseller rank for a category or subcategory. I'm talking about where your product shows up in the SERP, that's the search engine result page, for a given keyword that you might find important to you. So let's call it, hummingbird feeder, and where your product shows up for hummingbird feeder. We've seen in our data that adding EBC to a page immediately increased the search ranking for that product. And so I can't say with 100% certainty, but we do have data to support the fact that Amazon is giving a search bump to ASINs that have EBC on the page even before there's a sales history impact from the increased conversion from those images. Meaning Amazon could potentially be using the incidence of EBC on the page as a direct factor in determining search relevancy. That's pretty big. Secondly, we see increased sales. Studies have shown, which I like how vague that is, but studies have shown that increased traffic and conversion comes with high quality EBC. That's kind of what we're preaching here, is that more people are going to check out or going to convert on your page if they're armed with the confidence of the information you've provided them. Now, that matters because getting more sales is good. It also matters when we think about what drives organic search ranking on Amazon. It's a number of factors from price and fulfillment and text relevancy, but one of the most important factors on Amazon that drives organic search relevancy, meaning where your product shows up in the search ranking, is sales history. That's recent sales history, that's sales history over the last month, and so on. If you can add EBC to your page, increase conversions, you are essentially increasing sales velocity. And with that increase in sales velocity, you push your products up the organic SERP to where you can get those clicks and those sales without having to pay for them through advertising. Chad, anything else you wanted to add to there before I move on?
Yeah, I would just add that the listing page that Amazon gives to sellers is the golden space. It's the golden space that you find at the supermarket, that middle of the shelf. So whatever you can do to get people to actually buy from the golden shelf is more money in your pocket. So I think there's no downside to adding enhanced brand content, right? I mean, I've been doing it. Right when it came out, I started doing it. And I've been doing what others refuse to do or others aren't going to do, because I think that's what it takes to win when you have 2 million sellers on Amazon today and you have 25,000 toilet paper holders on Amazon.com. No joke, 25,000 toilet paper holders are on Amazon. So how do you differentiate your product? How do you tell the story and the narrative of your product? The only way to do that is with enhanced brand content. And this slide in itself that Amazon sent to you guys is Amazon telling you like that they're going to actually improve your search ranking with enhanced brand content.
Chad, I agree with all of that. I also don't see any downside of using EBC. I think it's interesting to listen to what Amazon says. I think it's a lot more important to watch what Amazon does. And in this case, we don't have to look any further than what Amazon's doing with their own detail pages for their private label products and the additional real estate they're now allocating to put EBC onto a detail page and make that available. And so, like we said before, the opportunity is there to take advantage of this. And I can't stress this enough that this will not always be free. This is, if you go back in time, the way Amazon has always done things, they get people hooked on something to say, I need this, and then they start charging for it later when you already know the value of it, and so you're more willing to pay for it. I don't have a date, but I can make a virtual guarantee that this is not going to be free forever. It is free today. Many of your competitors aren't doing this, and so the opportunity that exists right now is really important to take advantage of.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit from a design standpoint, or what are some best practices and what you can avoid. And Chad, I know you and I talked about this a little bit. I thought it was a really good point. You wanted to kind of call out almost an A/B test of before and after for what life before EBC looked like. Do you want to go through with that?
Yeah, this is from a seller that I have a great relationship with, and he sells replacement toothbrush heads on Amazon. And I think he has fantastic listings, right? I love his listings, but he hasn't leveraged or gotten on the enhanced brand content gravy train yet. So he just has value props in his product description, and he's using bold, he's using capital letters. But there's such a better way to display this information to get people to the buy box. And so this is what life was like before EBC. And so this is what sellers did to win, to get them to get their clients or customers to go and click the yellow button, the buy box, for them to actually convert. And I think there's a new way now with enhanced brand content, and Amazon's rewarding sellers who are taking this step. And so you saw some examples of what either Anchor or Poshstruck that was doing. Those are a few, but if you actually shop online or on Amazon and just spend time digging through different listings, you'll start seeing other people that are leveraging enhanced brand content and see what you like or what you don't like. So for best practices, one of the things that I've added to these bullet points is, like, we sell replacement parts for vacuum cleaners. So vacuum filters to fit, say, Eureka or Hoover. And so we have to typically put legal jargon in our lawn product description. And now we can't do that because Amazon's enhanced brand content doesn't want you to have legal jargon or any guarantees as well in the product description. So we've had to repurpose that. So best practices for us was to actually remove that from enhanced brand content and repurpose it somewhere else. But for what I think works well, what we're doing at Crucial and what our customers are doing as well, is that the first bullet point you'll see is that they're highlighting unique value propositions in their enhanced brand content. So again, Amazon only makes money outside of the fact that when someone clicks on an ad, they land on your page, fine. But the holy trifecta that Pat was talking about is when somebody actually converts, and it's FBA as well. So they're rewarding those three things. The way to get somebody to convert is to have a value proposition in the enhanced brand content. So you can say perfect for mothers, or very durable, or heavy duty, whatever is going to highlight the features. And like if I was going to sell you this coffee, right, I would say this coffee has essential oils inside of it that enhance the flavor of the oils. That's just one example. So
Chad, I have to ask with that logo, is that a blue bottle by any chance?
It is a blue bottle.
Okay, cool. I thought I recognized that.
It's amazing. It's actually really small, but it's so good and it packs a punch. So maybe in my enhanced brand content, I would say like small but packs a punch, or size doesn't really matter, right? But the brew of this has been sitting for 24 hours. Unlike our competitors, this is made in the United States.
I think, Chad, you make a really good point. It's something I talk to sellers a lot about, is putting yourself in the shoes of your customers. And people are not going to buy your product because you want them to, or because you feel like they should, or because you spent a lot of time on your brand. All those are worthwhile investments, but people really only convert if your product uniquely solves their problem and differentiates itself from your competitors. So if you are, what was it, toilet paper holder number 13,078, and there's nothing that differentiates you from the other 24,999 toilet paper holders on Amazon, then you're not really giving people a reason to buy your product. And that's how you have to think about the composition of this content and the message that you want to send when leveraging EBC. One of the bullet points here I want to focus on for a moment is prioritization. So let's say you've gotten to this point of the webinar and you've said, yeah, guys, I'm all the way in on this. I have 10,000 products, so where the heck should I start? And I would suggest you don't have to do, this is not an all or nothing proposition. You don't turn your account on for EBC. You can do this product by product. And so I would start with a batch of 5 or 10 or 20. I know 20 is the max submissions you can have at a given moment, and focus on your best selling, your highest ranking products. So one of the sayings I like to use is pour fuel on your fires which are already burning, and follow that data. Go to your products that are already selling really well and have them drive even faster, and then work down from there as a way to prioritize. Also, look where you're driving most of your advertising spend. if you're driving a ton of traffic to a detail page and it's converting decently well and it's a decent quality product, well, you have an opportunity to make your advertising spend a more efficient investment by getting more of those folks to check out. And that's a way you can think about how to prioritize. All right, where do I start with this?
Yep. And I just want to point out, I think I said this in an earlier slide, was looking at your competitor reviews, especially the negative, because most people, when they look at reviews, they're like, oh, 5 stars, yeah, okay, tell me what I don't know. And so they go to the negatives. Look at your competitors' negatives. Look at their Q&A, because a lot of people don't focus on the Q&A portion where people ask questions, and bake those into your enhancement. Like, be just upfront with all of this information so you don't have to have people dig and search for it.
Yeah, Chad, that's a good point. We've also seen the value of doing that come back in, and people only think of top line, in reduced incidence of returns. And that is a huge cost with returns. So if somebody thinks your product does X, but it actually doesn't do X, or they think it's 12 ounces, but it's 16 ounces, or whatever it might be, to Chad's point, be transparent about what it is, what it isn't, about what the value of the product is and how it can best be used. You'll be able to reduce the number of people who mistakenly purchase the product and then return it. Because even though it might feel good to get that upfront sale in your reports, it's always a pain to have the inventory go back to Amazon, and now there's a cost for relabeling or restocking or whatever it is, and you want to avoid that as much as possible, especially during holiday time where you're going to get a ton of traffic and less e-commerce savvy shoppers for the most part.
That's a good nugget.
Chad, we're on the nuggets. Love the nuggets. Speaking of nuggets, did you wanna talk a little bit about some areas that you can trip up if you're not aware of?
Yeah, sure. So I think I alluded to one of these, which was putting like legal jargon or information. So we were getting rejected from Amazon for legal jargon. We also were putting copyrights or registered symbols, registered trademark symbols inside of our enhancement content. Amazon just doesn't like that. They reacted very negatively to it. So we had to restructure the way we're doing our listings. We have 3,000 listings across Amazon, so you can imagine how hard it is to actually make these changes to our own brand. But like you said, we're prioritizing rigorously on our top selling items. But we're also taking a few bottom feeders or even the new stuff that we're launching and putting EBC on it immediately out of the gate.
You know, that's a really good point around new product launches, because when that product starts from zero, it has no sales equity, it has no history, it has no reviews. It's the most vulnerable that ASIN can really ever be. And one of the best ways to kind of overcome that initial inertia on the marketplace is to have that EBC in place. One of the other things too we've had issues with, and I know it creates frustration, is anybody who's selling in the consumable space or in health and personal care or beauty or supplements, sometimes you'll have a product that is actually FDA approved. And it's a long, rigorous, costly, frustrating, annoying process to get your product FDA approved. However, for whatever reason, Amazon doesn't allow you to include documentation of FDA approval in your EBC. And you might say, but I'm allowed to put it in my bullet points, and that's right. But it's just for you to know that Amazon will reject anything that has FDA approval in the EBC. And so even though you've worked hard for that, you can include it elsewhere in the product content, but not in the enhanced brand content. It'll get rejected, and you'll just cost yourself time between when you can actually get that listing live with that content.
Yeah, you can slap that in one of your secondary images.
Yeah,
well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a
little stamp of approval, little ribbon.
Yeah, that's right. That social proof that, hey, we're legit.
Yep.
Awesome. So we've talked about what it is, how to use it, what the benefits are, a few different examples as well. And I kind of wanted to walk through the numbers here for how one brand, Polaris Optics, is maximizing their EBC investment. And we chose the word investment here wisely because part of the effort here is to change the mindset of how people think about content. And 60% of the people who are attending this are not currently leveraging EBC. And for a long time, content, both image content and on-page content, has been viewed as an operational cost, as something you have to hire somebody to do or farm out. And it's a task, it's a chore that needs to be completed. Even copy and pasting content from other channels, which is definitely not recommended.
Right,
and we want to say, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so we want to change the mindset of how EBC is actually an investment that will pay you back. And to highlight that, like I said, we want to talk about Polaris Optics. They make binoculars and monoculars specifically for bird watching, as you can see here. They have some really cool stuff. And so I want to talk a little bit about just a 25-day prior versus the 25-day post, putting enhanced brand content on the page. And so the conversion rate of this product prior to EBC was 12%. And the average conversion rate after was 18%. And I can tell you this was not over holiday time, so it's not, hey, this is, holiday season versus post-holiday season or anything like that to try to influence the numbers. This product was always in FBA. The price point remained constant as well. And so the delta that we see is a 6-point increase in detail page conversion rate for this ASIN. And so even that marginal increase from 12% conversion rate to 18% conversion rate can impact your sales velocity over the short term. So even over a month period, if you take 10,000 sessions or however many sessions you might be driving to a page, you can see how that will have an immediate impact in sales. And so that will boost your top and your bottom line. If we continue that thought exercise, and I know there's a lot of numbers on here, so just bear with me for a moment. Again, the point of this is to think about EBC from an investment standpoint. Let's say your product is a $75 product, and you're currently seeing a 12% conversion rate on your detail page without implementing EBC. So 60% of you not using EBC right now. Calculate your conversion rate before using enhanced brand content. Let's say you get 1,000 sessions over 15 days, and so without EBC, you get 120 orders, right? That's your 12% conversion rate on your 1,000 sessions. At that $75 price point, $9,000 in revenue. Let's assume that you get a modest 2-point increase with EBC, and again, I'm talking about point increases, so 12 to 14%, a 2-point increase. You would go up to 130 orders, an additional $750 of revenue. And if you got an additional $750 of revenue every 15 days, that's an extra $18,250 over 1 year. That's not changing your price. That's not an additional dollar of advertising. That's not increasing ad budgets. That's not increasing keyword bids within sponsored products. That's not running any AMG display advertising. That's solely increasing the conversion rate on the page using EBC. If you have a 4-point increase, you can see here on the right, you get up to a 16% conversion rate. Well, now you've gone up from 120 orders to 160 orders. That's an additional $12,000 in revenue, so $3,000 every 15 days. So over the course of a year, it's an additional $73,000 in revenue over the year. So when you're thinking about, man, EBC is just a cost, it's a time suck, content, all it does is takes time, it's a chore, I'd rather be focused on advertising, I would think again and really do the math of what you could actually enjoy. Also, keep in mind, this is a modest projection, assuming that you have no change in organic rank at all, which is one of the main benefits of having EBC and increasing conversion rate. So this is assuming your organic rank stays constant, and the expectation is that with increased sales velocity, you'd be able to continue to push your organic ranking as well. Nick, did you have a poll you wanted to put out here? Since this slide says poll, I would expect that you do.
Yeah, right after kind of going over that nice case study there. But yeah, I mean, that's actually, the content for today's presentation. Again, Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. And Pat, again, thank you for kind of putting this presentation on. Yeah, kind of just as a poll question, if you'd like to, get a quote from CPC Strategy on your EBC build out, you can kind of answer this poll here. I'll keep this up for a couple minutes here as we go into the Q&A portion. But, there's a lot of questions that have come through, still a lot of uncertainty of how to build out. And so I guess, one of the biggest things, why, I guess going with an agency to kind of build up the EBC or just exploring the option is just, working with an agency, you actually have access to a dedicated project manager as well as an in-house design team to actually help you to collaborate and share ideas with. So we actually help to, better understand your brand and what's the value proposition you try to explain to actually consumers on Amazon. So if you're interested in kind of finding out a quote about EBC build out, definitely let us know here. You can submit that. But We'll jump into a couple questions here. I'll stop the poll, and then I know we have another kind of one-time offer from Chad that you guys definitely don't want to miss out as well. But a question I did want to address, though, it's come up, pretty much every time we talk about EBC, continues to come up. I know you and Chad touched on it, Pat, here, but just want to address it again one last time here. Is Luke wants to know, does EBC get indexed for search? Can you kind of go into a little more detail on that?
Yeah, sure. And just I know Chad had covered this a little bit earlier, is that EBC, the content you put in your enhanced brand content, does not get indexed for search. However, the long form description, which gets removed from the detail page when you implement EBC, still does, even though it doesn't actually visually show up on the detail page. So it's still really important to fill out that long form description. That way you don't lose any of your indexing potential with Amazon's A9 search algorithm when you implement EBC. Chad, did I get all that right?
Yep, that is correct.
Nice. Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it. And what I'll do is kind of close up this poll here. For those of you, you want to have a follow-up conversation, we'll definitely be sure to reach out to you. So yeah, just some resources, though. I know on the next slide here, we have Skubana's blog as well as CPC Strategy's blog. I know a lot of you are pretty familiar with it. Let's see if I can move on to the next slide here. Cool. Just some resources. We have a lot of good resources, a lot of blog articles that Skubana and CPC, continue to publish, on a daily, if not weekly basis too. So definitely check those out. But Chad, before we kind of, go into more of the questions here, you want to go over the kind of the one-time offer and kind of the different,
Yeah, it's just a power offer that I'm offering for those that are still listening to this presentation. So we're going to do an Amazon teardown for a lucky 15 to 20 people that apply for free. So it's 15 minutes where I just literally tear apart your listing and give you ideas of how you can improve it or how you can change it. So you go to skubana.com/gold, put in the password, which is nuggets, which me and Pat, we're both hoping that you walk away with some gold nuggets from this presentation where you spent an hour of your time, right? But you're rewarded for that hour because we want you to walk away with some tactical stuff that you can walk away with that you don't find typically in other webinars.
Yeah, Chad, I agree with that. And actually now it makes me think, I think a lot of people are looking for hacks. They're looking for silver bullets, and silver bullets and hacks are not the way to build a sustainable channel on Amazon. It's the collection of these gold nuggets and amassing them over time and being able to know how to leverage them in a way that your competition doesn't. Yep.
I would say those that didn't join this webinar or those that left early, right before we got to this Q&A, I would say that most of those, 99% of those, are just focusing on the short term. And I think you got to focus on the long term to win, because Amazon's a long-term game. And what was great 6 months ago or great 8 months ago is actually no longer relevant, right? Doing incentivized reviews on Amazon, you're not allowed to do anymore. So how do you do other things so that you're constantly winning as a seller on Amazon and beating out your competitors?
Absolutely. Hey Nick, do you have some questions that Chad and I might be able to address here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to a question here from Brian. Wants to know, can you create EBC without being approved in brand registry?
No.
Okay, thought that would be a straightforward question there too. Wanted to be sure to address it. Okay, let's see if we can go to this one. Question here from Tim. Wants to know, is there a way to submit EBC content to Amazon on parent-child listings, or is it only possible from a single seller SKU?
Yes, you can submit EBC for the parent-child listings, and you can differentiate EBC by child variation, if I'm not mistaken. Chad, is that right?
I believe so, yes. I don't do a lot of variations. I do a lot of kits and bundles, and those are all parent SKUs, so I'd have to look into that.
The good thing about that too, Nick, is that oftentimes the difference in variations is a color maybe or a size. So your EBC is not going to change. The value proposition for a shoe in size 11 and a shoe in size 10.5, it's going to be the same thing. And so if you design one that it gets approved and you like it, then you can repurpose that one across all the other variations. Unless there's something specific about the variations that has a different selling proposition. So if one's a 10 volt battery and one's a 50 volt battery, if you're calling out the voltage difference in your EBC, you're going to want to make sure that you have that updated for each variation.
Nice, gotcha. All right, thanks, Pat and Chad, appreciate it. Another question here from Tal. Wants to know about images. Should I reuse the images I use in the main image for pics? So I'm referring to the actual product detail page. So what are your thoughts there?
Chad, you want to kick that one off? I'll follow up if I have anything else.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. You probably can reuse some of that content, but a lot of people in their secondary images just have like the front and back of their product. That is not what I think you should be doing for secondary images or what I think you should be doing for enhanced brand content. So we're in a different game right now where you need to actually sell your product, sell what people would see on the shelf, and highlight what's most important in the buyer journey. So I believe that you should be using different images. It just depends on how much time you have, right? So if you have someone like Pat or Nick who will be doing your enhanced brand content for you, right? They would actually have time to actually build out like quality value props directly there. So I think that you should be using different images across the board because it's just real estate space and you don't want to have repetitive real estate space on Amazon's listings.
Yeah, I agree with that. A couple of just things to add is I wouldn't let perfection prevent progress. And what I mean by that is if you have assets available today that you can use to implement EBC, and if some of those happen to be the same ones that you have of your images further up the detail page, I don't view that as ideal, but if it's going to take you 3 months or 6 months to get a new set of images, I'd rather use some of that now, and it's not set it and forget it. You can always come back and update that EBC later. Now, on the other side, I would take a step back and think about this strategically, that you should try to optimize EBC not towards what's easiest for you to execute, but what your customers actually want to see. And really what you're trying to do is recreate the 3D shopping experience of somebody going into a store, holding a product, being able to say, okay, this is a water bottle, I can squeeze it. Okay, it's got this little squeeze top, great. And recreating that experience through the two-dimensional screen of e-commerce. And so if you can create or you have images to communicate that, the expectation of what the increase in conversion rate is going to be on your page will be a lot higher.
Great, fantastic. Thanks, Pat and Chad. Really thorough answer there. Kind of leading into video question, which I see comes up a ton. I saw it come up when people are submitting the forms due to register for this event itself. And people want to know. I mean, do you anticipate Amazon kind of rolling out video potentially for EBC? I don't know if A+ content for vendors. I don't know if they have it. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but
yeah. So you can submit videos to Amazon if you're a vendor through Vendor Central. You have access to certain types of videos through certain 3P programs like Amazon Exclusives, for example. I don't want to step on Chad's toes here because he's been talking about videos as part of the e-commerce experience for a long time now, and I agree with him. I can't imagine a scenario moving forward where videos don't become more prevalent on Amazon detail pages. They're not available now through EBC, but they are really useful for the customer experience and for the buying decision. So yeah, that's something I would absolutely expect and be planning for. And if you have other channels, and Chad, I'm sure you can talk about this a bit more, that those videos are really powerful components.
Yeah, so if you're selling off Amazon with your own website, I think right now you can't get video on Amazon unless you're a vendor. So if you're selling off Amazon and you're building a brand and you want to not be just a vending machine approach, which is kind of the strategy that Amazon has taken, where you can create your off-brand strategy with video. And so we make fun videos like how-to videos. We put them on YouTube, which is the second biggest search engine in the United States. I'll start there. And so we do a lot of videos there. I do believe that since Amazon took away the incentivized review program, they're going to launch Amazon Vine for sellers, which will be monetized, of course. And I do believe part of that will be videos, having customers do videos. And some of those videos may show up in the testing that Amazon's doing right now with the video shorts. Have you guys seen that at the bottom, the square videos?
Yeah, and I was going to mention those as well because those are actually part of advertising units through AMG, which is Amazon Media Group.
Mm-hmm. So I do think that Amazon's testing videos more significantly, and I think that Amazon realizes that's where the puck is going, and it's just a matter of time till we get there.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you guys. I do want to finish off with one last question. We are at the top of the hour, and kind of the motto, the theme we've been going through the entire presentation, or, have these takeaways, the golden nuggets. And so let's say, you're sitting through this hour-long session. If there's one thing, I guess, out of this EPC, webinar here, or just kind of take away kind of moving forward from today, what would you say kind of one thing that somebody can kind of look at moving forward in terms of kind of like a key takeaway here? Pat, I don't know if you want to kick things off and then kind of push it over to Chad.
Yeah, sure. I will. I'll talk while I'm buying time to think of my response. And
There's so much.
There is a lot, and so I think one of the golden nuggets to use here is to take yourself out of your shoes as a seller and truly show empathy and put yourselves in the shoes of your buyers. And I go back to the 25,000 toilet paper holder example that Chad brought up. Don't view this as a chore or as work. This is an opportunity for you to establish your brand voice, your brand image, the value of your products, to connect with your consumers, and to create a real relationship path to continue long-term growth on Amazon. And so if you're not shopping your own products as a consumer and asking yourself, would I buy this if I were a consumer, then that's something that you really have to start doing now, and understanding how this content opportunity creates that pathway for connection. Chad, what would you say?
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of sellers are looking for shortcuts, like silver bullets. And so they're looking to just spray and pray, like I talked about, where you just post the same content, especially if you're the brand owner, spraying the same content everywhere. And that's just not the way to win right now in a 2017 environment at all. So what I would say is actually you need to post content, and I talked about this earlier, look at all your competitors' listings. I want you to literally open up 20 tabs of all your competitor listings from best-selling to worst-selling products, and find out what's going to pull at your buyer's heartstrings. Understand the customer buying journey, and take those and implement them into your own listing, both in your product description, in your images, in your title, in your enhanced brand content. And I think that's the way that you're going to build a sustainable business, and also a listing that's built to convert over time.
Fantastic. There you go. May have put you guys on the spot there for a second there, but that's what I do. I'm for the people. All right. I want to have some solid takeaways here. You guys
you're so virtuous, Nick.
But again, I want to thank you, Pat and Chad, for today's webinar. I know the audience definitely loved the content for today. A lot of good golden nuggets for today's session. And I definitely want to let everyone know, those of you that are still on here, still have like 400 people, so that's good to see. That it has been recorded. I'll send up the recording and the slides all and the actual PDF tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for an email from CPC Strategy. Have any questions, anything like that, feel free to reach out to CPC Strategy and Skubana. Definitely check out Chad's one-time offer here. I set that out in the chat box as well. So visit that. Put in the password nuggets. Check it out. Have Pat have Chad kind of go through, talk about your listings, and etc. But that's going to do it for today's session. Again, this is CPC Strategy, setting off from the